Imagine the glistening city of Detroit in the year 1913, a city surging with ambition, its factories roaring to life as Henry Ford's Model T transformed America forever. And into this moment of unlimited possibility rose Michigan's Central Station, a cathedral of transportation that would serve as Detroit's front door for 75 years. Indeed, its soaring waiting room drew gasps from first-time visitors. Its 18-story office tower dominated the western skyline. Presidents passed through its marble halls. But then came 30 years of abandonment, as Detroit's most magnificent building slowly crumbled in plain sight. And yet, sometimes the greatest ruins hold the greatest potential for rebirth. In today's episode of Old Money Mansions, we describe how the architectural masterpiece of Michigan Central Station fell so far and why its revival means so much to the Motor City, as we describe. How Detroit saved the most beautiful station in America. On the 26th of December 1913, Michigan Central Station opened its doors ahead of schedule, forced into early service by a fire that had destroyed the railroad's 3rd Street depot. What began as an emergency solution would soon become Detroit's magnificent gateway to the world, a towering testament to the city's rising prominence at the dawn of the automotive age. The station's majestic Beaux-Arts design transformed Detroit's skyline. Its impressive waiting room drew gasps from first-time visitors as they entered through the grand archways, where sunlight streamed through towering windows, dancing across marble floors and illuminating the intricate details of the vaulted ceiling far above. This wasn't just a train station. It was a cathedral of transportation that would serve as Detroit's front door for 3/4 of a century. During its early years, as World War I approached, the station hummed with unprecedented activity. More than 200 trains arrived and departed daily, their passengers flowing through the grand concourse like a human tide. The station's restaurant, with its crisp white tablecloths and impeccable service, ranked among Detroit's finest dining establishments. In the elegant waiting room, soldiers bid farewell to loved ones before departing for war, while immigrants arrived with dreams of finding work in Henry Ford's burgeoning automobile factories. The station welcomed presidents and dignitaries through its halls. Theodore Roosevelt's commanding presence filled the concourse during his visits, while Franklin D. Roosevelt's distinctive voice echoed through the waiting room as he rallied Detroit during the Great Depression. President Harry Truman would later make his own journey through the station, adding to its legacy as a crossroads of American history. Michigan Central Station's architecture reflected the boundless optimism of its era. Its 18-story office tower rose magnificently above Detroit's western skyline, while the main waiting room showcased the finest craftsmanship of the age. Towering Corinthian columns supported the soaring ceiling, and bronze chandeliers cast their warm glow across the sprawling space. The building's limestone facade featured intricate stone carvings, while the interior boasted an array of architectural details that spoke to the station's status as one of America's finest transportation hubs. By the 1940s, the station was processing over 4,000 passengers daily, serving as both a critical transportation node and a vital piece of Detroit's social fabric. Ladies in fine dresses and gentlemen in pressed suits moved through the grand concourse, their footsteps echoing off the vaulted ceiling. The Western Union office buzzed with activity day and night, connecting Detroit to cities across the continent through an endless stream of urgent messages. For 75 years, Michigan Central Station stood as an icon of Detroit's golden age, its marble halls witnessing countless reunions, farewells, and new beginnings. Yet no one among the millions who passed through its grand entrances could have imagined that this magnificent structure would one day stand empty and abandoned, its grandeur fading as surely as the city it served. The story of Michigan Central Station's construction began in 1908, when the Michigan Central Railroad started acquiring land in Detroit's Corktown neighborhood, more than 2 miles from the city's downtown core. This westward expansion would prove visionary, positioning the station to serve Detroit's growing population as the city expanded in the coming decades. The railroad selected two of America's premier architectural firms to design their new terminal, Warren and Wetmore and Reed and Stem, the same partnership that was simultaneously working on New York's Grand Central Terminal. These masters of Beaux-Arts architecture created plans for a station that would stand among the finest in the nation, combining classical beauty with modern functionality. The design called for two distinct but connected structures, a three-story station building housing the main waiting room and passenger facilities, and an office tower rising 232 feet into the Detroit sky. At the time of its construction, it would be the tallest railroad station ever built, its silhouette dominating the western skyline and announcing Detroit's growing importance as a major American city. Construction began in 1912, launching one of Detroit's most ambitious building projects of the early 20th century. The massive undertaking required 20,000 cubic yards of concrete and 7,000 tons of structural steel to create a foundation and framework worthy of such a monumental structure. The building incorporated the most advanced construction techniques of its era, resulting in a structure that would stand the test of time. The station's Beaux-Arts design featured a blend of classical elements interpreted through the lens of early 20th century American architecture. The exterior walls rose in elegant limestone, punctuated by large windows that would flood the interior spaces with natural light. Inside, the waiting room's soaring ceiling reached 54 feet high, creating an atmosphere of grandeur that would impress visitors for generations to come. As construction progressed through 1913, the building took shape as a symbol of American architectural ambition and engineering prowess. The main concourse and waiting areas were designed to handle thousands of passengers daily, while the office tower provided space for the railroad's growing administrative needs. The station's story took an unexpected turn on the 26th of December 1913, when fire destroyed the Michigan Central Railroad's existing depot on 3rd Street. The railroad immediately opened the new Michigan Central Station that same day, despite some areas still being under construction. This sudden opening, though lacking the formal ceremony typically accorded to such an important structure, marked the beginning of the station's 75-year service to Detroit. However, the story of Michigan Central Station's decline parallels the broader transformation of American transportation in the post-war era. As the 1950s dawned, the station that had once embodied Detroit's golden age began to show the first signs of a shifting world. The rise of the automobile, ironically, the very industry that had helped build Detroit, began to reshape how Americans traveled, while the growing popularity of air travel further eroded rail passenger numbers. The changes came gradually but steadily. The number of daily trains decreased through the 1950s as more Americans chose to drive along the newly constructed interstate highway system. The station's vast waiting room, which had once bustled with thousands of daily passengers, grew increasingly quiet. The decline in rail travel was not unique to Detroit, but part of a national trend that would reshape America's transportation landscape. By 1967, responding to the realities of decreased passenger volume and rising maintenance costs, the station closed its main waiting room, restaurant, and arcade shops. The dramatic reduction in facilities reflected the pragmatic needs of a changing era, as the massive building had become too expensive to maintain fully operational, given the declining passenger numbers. In 1971, Amtrak took over the nation's passenger rail operations, including those at Michigan Central Station. Rather than marking a further decline, this transition brought a period of attempted revitalization. In 1975, Amtrak invested over $1 million in renovations, including reopening the main waiting room. This significant investment demonstrated a commitment to maintaining passenger rail service in Detroit, even as the industry faced continuing challenges. The station's challenges mirrored broader changes in Detroit itself. As the city's population declined and its economic challenges mounted, the station remained a working transportation hub, though serving far fewer passengers than in its heyday. The building's vast size, once a symbol of Detroit's ambition, now posed significant maintenance challenges, even with Amtrak's investments in the facility. Through the 1980s, the station continued to serve Detroit's rail passengers, though at a much reduced capacity compared to its peak years. While the majority of its space stood unused, trains continued to arrive and depart, maintaining a vital transportation link for the city. However, the economic realities of maintaining such a massive structure for diminished passenger traffic ultimately proved unsustainable. On the 5th of January 1988, Michigan Central Station ceased operations. After 74 years of continuous service, the Great Beaux-Arts Terminal closed its doors. The closure marked the end of an era in Detroit's transportation history, as the city lost one of its most significant architectural landmarks to the shifting tides of American transportation preferences and economic change. The vacant building would soon face new challenges, as its empty halls awaited an uncertain future in a city grappling with its own profound transitions. After Michigan Central Station closed its doors in January 1988, the building entered what would become a 30-year period of abandonment. The massive structure, which had once welcomed millions of travelers, stood as Detroit's most prominent ruin, its empty windows staring out over Corktown like hollow eyes. The station's transformation from architectural marvel to urban decay became emblematic of Detroit's broader struggles with post-industrial decline. A significant change came in 1995 when the station was purchased by interests controlled by Manuel "Matty" Moraun. The building, which had already been listed on the National Register of Historic Places since 1975, continued to deteriorate despite its protected status. Without regular maintenance, the harsh Michigan winters took their toll on the structure. Water infiltration caused extensive damage throughout the building, while broken windows left the interior exposed to the elements. The station's plight drew significant media attention throughout the 1990s and 2000s. Time magazine and other publications frequently used images of the abandoned station to illustrate stories about Detroit's economic challenges. The building became a powerful symbol of urban decay, featured in numerous documentaries, books, and articles about the city's struggles. It even appeared as a backdrop in several Hollywood films, including Transformers in 2007. Various proposals for the building's redevelopment emerged over the years. Some suggested converting it into a convention center and casino, with one such proposal carrying a price tag of $1 billion. In 2011, more modest estimates suggested that basic renovations might cost around $80 million. However, none of these proposals moved beyond the planning stage. The idea of converting the station into Detroit's police headquarters was among the suggestions discussed, but like many other proposals, it failed to gain traction. The vacant building became a target for vandals and scrappers during its years of abandonment. Despite attempts at security measures, trespassers regularly entered the structure, and much of its architectural detailing was stripped away. The ornate waiting room, which had once impressed visitors with its grandeur, now stood exposed to the elements. Graffiti covered both interior and exterior walls, while many of the building's original fixtures and materials disappeared. The deterioration of Michigan Central Station during these years was extensive. The limestone exterior became stained and weathered, while interior damage mounted as rain and snow entered through broken windows. The copper roof was stripped away by scrappers, leading to further water damage throughout the structure. The grand spaces that had once hosted thousands of travelers daily became dangerous and unstable. As Detroit entered a period of revitalization in the mid-2010s, Michigan Central Station remained both a challenge and an opportunity. Despite 3 decades of neglect and vandalism, the building still commanded attention on the city's skyline, waiting for someone with the vision and resources to tackle its immense renovation needs. That moment would finally arrive in 2018, when an unexpected announcement would offer new hope for Detroit's long-abandoned landmark. In June 2018, Detroit's sleeping giant finally awakened. Ford Motor Company's announcement that it had purchased Michigan Central Station marked the beginning of an ambitious renaissance. The automaker committed $1 billion to transform the long-abandoned landmark into something entirely new, a mobility innovation campus that would help shape the future of transportation. Ford's vision went beyond mere preservation. The company assembled a team of preservation experts, architects, and engineers to not only restore the building's historic grandeur, but also reimagine its purpose for the 21st century. The first phase focused on the most crucial task, stabilizing the structure and drying out the building, which had endured decades of exposure to Michigan's harsh elements. The restoration process revealed both challenges and treasures. Workers discovered architectural details that had been hidden for decades, while also confronting the extensive damage wrought by years of abandonment. Ford's commitment to authenticity meant sourcing materials that matched the original construction, including more than 600 tons of limestone from the original quarry used in 1913. Over the years, various artifacts from the station's past were returned to the building, each piece carrying its own story of the station's history. In early June 2024, the public got their first glimpse of the restored interior, marking a pivotal moment in the building's transformation. The station's reopening as a mobility innovation campus represented more than just architectural preservation. It symbolized Detroit's own renaissance. The restored landmark became home to Ford's innovation teams, working to revolutionize how people and goods move in the decades to come. The station's revival has set the stage for broader changes in Corktown, Detroit's oldest neighborhood. While the full impact of this massive project on the surrounding area continues to unfold, Michigan Central Station stands as a powerful symbol of Detroit's resurgence. Proof that even the most challenging preservation projects can succeed with vision, commitment, and community support. And now, we'd love to see you in the comments. Are you a native of Detroit? And do you like the revitalized station? Our channel thrives off of your thoughts, so don't be a stranger. And we'll see you below. With that said, thanks for joining us for another episode of Old Money Mansions, and cheers. Until next time.